Hello, and welcome to the CITL Research and Practice Brief Series. The purpose of the series is to have conversations around the innovative use of technology in special education, early childhood, related services, and leadership personnel preparation programs. Today, we have Dr. Ling Zhang as our guest expert to share her research and practice on multi-agent systems for IEP development. Dr. Zhang used to be part of the CITL team,
Mhm.
and now she's an assistant professor at the University of Wyoming. Her research centers on designing, implementing, and evaluating technology-enhanced personalized learning for students with and without disabilities in diverse educational settings. She's currently part of the team that develops multi-agent systems for IP development. Welcome back to CITL, Ling.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm always glad to be back.
We're happy to have you back. So I heard you did an amazing work on developing multi-agent systems for IP development. Can you introduce what multi-agent systems are?
Sure, I appreciate that. I've been working on this project. My colleagues and I have been working on this project for several months, which I think is very exciting. Multi-agent systems refer to advanced AI system where multiple AI agent supported by large language models like ChatGPT to collaborate to perform certain part or tasks of a complex task. So compared to the single agent system, like many systems, I think are single agent system. Multi-agent system, one of the advantages of the such systems relies in those agents' capacity because we have multiple agents, right? So those agents' capacity to perform the subtasks in more accurate and efficient way. Additionally, so I think different agents, you can design different agent to use different tools, such as data analysis tool and a calculation tool, or the tool that can ask them to retrieve information from local database or website. So I think all those capacity make multi-agent system, um, I think very intriguing system that can support many collaborative collaborative efforts in special education and education. So I think that's multi-agent system, very brief introduction.
Yeah, that's very interesting because as human teachers collaborate with each other for better outcomes,
Mhm.
AI is seem to be doing the same thing.
Yes.
So what motivated you to develop multi-agent systems and what issues are you trying to address through your work?
Sure, I think that's a great question. So when I first learned about this concept, multi-agent system, I was intrigued by the collaborative approach to, as I mentioned, right, to many educational efforts in our field. So I think that's the first reason. And so when we think about lots of the things we're doing, either whether it's to support educators or other learners in the classroom, right? So we do need collaborative efforts and expertise across different domains. So I think this collaborative approach first intrigues me the most. And I think the second one is I think everybody has been using or has been talking about, discussing about, talking about, and using generative AIs, right? But
Mhm.
as researchers, I think we also need to not concern, I think, yeah, pay attention to the quality of the content generated by those generative AI. So I think there are lots of existing tools, AI system that can support educator in generating many materials or content that educators can use in their K-12 classrooms, right? I think it's great because that those tools can reduce, like what we discussed a lot already, reduce workload for educators, especially for special education teachers, right? But another component is how to ensure the content, the quality of the content generated by those systems meets the standard, right? High quality standard. So I think that's another thing that I was trying to figure out. Okay, how can we ensure those systems to generate high quality? content, especially how can we ensure there is no hallucination, right? So I think that's a very important part. I'm pretty sure that CITO researchers and educators were, CITO team has done a great job talking about those issues, and lots of useful resources and tools are available for teachers or teacher educators. Yeah.
I really appreciate that because AI is very well known to enhance efficiency, but because of the nature of AI, which has hallucination and bias, it's really we're not very sure how to use it well. And I think the multi-agent system you develop can resolve some of the issues related to this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a little more specific. And can you walk us through how multi-agent systems for IEP development work?
Yeah, sure. Before that, I think, yeah, so even though I feel like the multi-agent system, the one that we have been working on can address like some of those issues related to hallucination, but I think in general, that's still ongoing challenge, not only for special education, overall, right? So how researcher can address that. So I think this system, which I can show you a little bit in the audience a little bit, can reduce the level of hallucination, but that's another one of the things we have been focused on. How can we ensure there is no hallucination? But I think we can talk more about when we get to, I don't know, a future direction or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the system, I think there are lots of things to show, but I'm trying to make this concise as possible. Let me share my screen for that. I think that will probably make more sense when I'm talking through what multi-agent system is, especially for IEP development.
Mhm.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I think, let me see, there were too many windows open. So this actually, so now what we're looking at is this, we call cognitive architecture of a multi-agent system, which basically is just the workflow of the agent team. So as we can say, if educator as a user interact with the whole system, right? So if you can say my mouse, so the whole workflow of agent teams follows in a sequential order, because we know that IEP development actually follows this sequential order, right? So we need to have a high quality of a present level of academic, oh geez, I forgot the name, performance and a functional performance, a PLAB statement and IEP goal, and individualized services or support, right? So we use the sequential order of IP development to design the workflow of the agent. So as we can say, for this multi-agent system, it consists of three major teams. The first team, PLAB writer, and we also include the PLAB evaluator because we want to make sure the statement written by the writer can be evaluated by the agent evaluator first, and then human user can evaluate the statement one more time. So that's our idea, to have this team, like this sub-team within the whole system. And then after the team created the statement, and so the task will be passed to another team, which is IEP goal creation and evaluation team. So this team sub-team will create IEP based on the PLAB statement, because we mentioned it's a sequential order, right? We need to have a high quality PLAB statement and then generate IEP goal. And then after that, we will have another sub-team to generate high quality individualized services and support. And we only include special design instruction, SDI, and supplemental materials and aids and support, SAS, in this system, because I feel like we have many other components of IEP, right? So we need to have the IEP team to make decision. Even all those three core components need to be critically reviewed and evaluated during the IEP meeting. So that's the overall workflow of the agent team, and it's the basic idea of this multi-agent system. I hope that makes sense. Conceptually, okay. So after we have this cognitive architecture or workflow of the agent team, so we use a platform called Flowwise, which is a low and a no code platform for us to build the system. So we try different models. So this is the most current model of the agent team. So it will follow the workflow we designed for the agent team. And then so I think another function of this system, let me go back to this map one more time. So another advantage of multi-agent system of our current version is we have this keep human in the loop function, which is I think one of the most important feature uh, for this system, because currently I tried many existing tools or system for IP development. I didn't find any function like this. So what that means is after we have a statement created by this team, right? So the system will stop, ask question, and ask users feedback on the quality or on whether the user wants to revise, improve the statement, and multiple times. You can do multiple times until you are satisfied with the quality of this statement. So I think the whole team think this is very important for positioning this tool as a professional learning tool, right? Because not only the agent team can show the specific step-by-step and the specific components of each core component of IEP, clap statement, IEP goal, and the suggestion, and they can interact with the agent team in terms of different components. So we think this is very important functionality for this system. Okay, sorry, I'm all over the place, but let's get back to this giant, messy, like the model we built. So this is the back end of the multi-agent system for IEP development. So the reason I'm showing is to show those different agent system, right? So we have three major teams. Not only that, so we can say those different teams actually will have different tools. So for example, for the IEP creation and evaluation team, so specific tool they can use is to retrieve relevant standard from a local database we created. So currently, because I focus on Wyoming education system, so we program the Wyoming content standard into this program. So whenever IEP goal creator and evaluator perform the specific task, they will go to this database to retrieve the standards first. So I think that's the reason we have this very messy, I don't know how to call it, map or something. Yeah, so that's the back end of the system. And let's briefly take a look at the front end of the system. So that's a front end of the system, and as a user, you can interact with the system as I just described, right? If that makes sense. And actually, if you interact with this system, so the agent system actually here now it doesn't show the reasoning steps or the reasoning process, but when you are interacting with the system, so the agent will show you their reasoning. So let me try, actually, if we have time, let me try, see if that works. Please create an, I don't know, plap statement for a student with autism, something like that. Because I think another thing I want to highlight here is so the system will remind you to input anonymous student data. But if you don't have any data, if you don't want to use any data, the system will generate exemplary statement, IEP goal, and SDI and assess. So that's another things we want to highlight whenever the user are interacting with the system. So let's see how that goes. That's a lot of things already. We can say because of the complexity, it will show you first the case manager where will rate you and will assign this task to PLAB writer. So the PLAB writer will still working, you can say still working, and PLAB
Wow.
writer first generates the statement, and now it's the PLAB evaluator. I think right now the PLAB evaluator is evaluating the whole system. So I think that's what is cool about this one. And when we get to the IEP, there we go. So that's the evaluator's workflow because we created PLAB statement evaluation rubric based on previous research. So we have different domains, we have different guided questions for the evaluator and user educator to evaluate the statement, right? So as we can say, we have how many? 7 domains and a specific question. So here, we can say, okay, so the evaluator does have one suggestion, which is to include most IEP goals and data, right? So now the system stopped and ask you if you have any suggestions. So let's see. Looks great. We want to praise the system a little bit, right? Looks great. Please add a discussion. We just use the evaluator's suggestion to the PLAB statement. So let's see. Sometimes it can, because the task, if the task gets complex or something like that, it will take time. It will take time, and I hope system will work well. It won't take too much time because I know we have lots of things to do to talk about later.
That's okay. It's very interesting.
Okay, so now let's see if the agent, the form from most recent IEP goal. So the system will, the sub team will create a new IEP platform. No, sorry, the PLAB statement and the evaluator will reevaluate the newly created statement. So let's figure it out. Okay, yes, here, progress on previous IEP goal. So that's the new addition to the previous statement. So you can just provide more feedback as you see fit or as needed until you are satisfied with the statement. So I think that's very important for the educators to learn, right? How to develop and how to evaluate those most important components for each or criteria for each component. So I think that makes sense. I don't think, yeah, if needed, we can show more, but I'm going to stop or pause to see if you have any thoughts.
So I really appreciate that you pointed out that humans should always be in the loop when
Mhm.
using the system, even if the system itself has a very high accuracy with less bias system working on.
Yeah.
And how would you integrate this multi-agent systems into your teacher preparation program?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me stop share. That's a great question because that's something we have been talking about and thinking about a lot. So currently this system is very is a prototype of the multi-agent system for IP development. So I think there are lots of exciting things for us to try. So I think the first thing we are thinking about is like the faculty members here at University of Wyoming, so the whole special education faculty team. So we're thinking about to have a meeting with special education directors in the state of Wyoming because our program is specifically designed to prepare pre-service teachers for the whole state. So we will have the meeting to with those directors to discuss about how this tool can support the professional learning for in-service teachers, especially novice teachers, right? So how this tool can support the professional development. So that's one direction. And another thing we've been talking about is because in-service teachers, pre-service teachers in our program will take master program, will take one course on data analysis and IEP development. So we are thinking about collaborating with our instructor of that course to test out how pre-service teachers from that course interact with the system and whether the system can enhance their learning outcomes in terms of IEP development. So there are many exciting things that we will try for sure. But that's I think most current ones we're thinking about.
Mm-hmm. And how can we better prepare educators for using or even developing these technologies in the field if they're
Yeah,
interested?
I think that's another very interesting question. I think the field, right, has been like all those like pioneers of AI in the field have been talking about how can we better prepare educators to use those generative AI. So I think oftentimes we will say it's just tool, right? Generative AI is a tool that can support educators can reduce their workload, can support other components of their work for sure. So one thing I think lots of people have already talked about is how can we provide opportunities for those educators to be more critical and reflective of like what we talk about, right? So critical of the things generated by those systems, because we want to make sure the content is of high quality, because that's very important for our students with disabilities to increase access to meaningful, high quality learning experiences for them. So if the information created by the system and used by the teacher in the classroom is not of high quality, I think that will impact the learning experiences of our students with disabilities. So I think the first thing I would emphasize is to be critical and to be reflective of the quality of those content. So that's one thing. Another thing I think, as you mentioned, how can we support them potential in developing those tools, right? So I think that's actually very exciting future direction to go with multi-agent system. So the thing I've been thinking about is whether or how can we develop authoring tools, authoring tools. So make the authoring tools easy or more accessible. So educators themselves can create like multi-agent systems in a way that they can prompt those agents or they can instruct those agent team, right? Because if they have an agent team to support their work in a way that will meet their professional learning, personalized professional learning experiences, that will be awesome. But currently, I don't know if there is any authoring tools to do so, but I think that can be very interesting future direction. So I think that can be the most personalized professional tools that educator can use if they can program their own system.
Hmm. So what implications do you see for future research? And what are some questions we might be asking?
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. So that's why I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about this system, because as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's just a prototype, right? I've been working with lots of people. I appreciate them. So I think I can address that later. So currently it's a prototype, but what I would like to say, they more functionalities that we can develop for the system is currently two parts. I think is two parts that are very important. The first part, how can we make sure the data analytics functionality integrate into the system, because currently we don't have the functionality yet, but we all know, right, to be able to create or develop a high quality PLAB statement, educators will need lots of student data from different sources, right? We actually created a data spreadsheet based on previous research and practitioner papers. So that spreadsheet encompasses lots of like data sources the educator can use to put the student data, and then copy and paste those anonymous data. So one more time, anonymous data into the system, the system will generate the statement. But we are thinking about if we have more advanced data analytic functionalities in the system, so that can support educator in I'm still thinking about the future direction, but I think that can be very exciting if we have like progress monitoring, autonomous, not autonomous, automated progress monitoring functionalities into the system. That would be awesome, right? But I think that's the future direction for sure. Another functionality I would love to see for the current multi-agent system for IP development is more focused on SDI, specially designed instruction, because currently we have preliminary evaluation outcomes almost ready, but I think we did see very promising outcomes in terms of the quality of SDI, especially design instruction. So currently the system does provide many useful SDI suggestions, but what I would love to see in the future is how educators can use those suggestions in their daily lesson plan or daily instruction with the students, right? Do we need those suggestions more detailed or more comprehensive? If we do need more details or comprehensive SDI suggestion, we do need more computational power of those agents, because currently the system is very complex already. It's very complex, and as I show, right, what I demoed a little bit earlier, it takes time. It takes time. It's not like a 1 second or I don't know 0.1 second, and then you will generate content. It will take some time because the agent, the sub agent team will go to the local website which we developed, and we put lots of evidence-based resources document in the database. So the agent will go to the database to retrieve those evidence-based practices, and that takes time and takes computational power, which means more costly. So I think that's the future direction to figure out whether we want detailed, comprehensive suggestion. If we do, how can we address the workload of agent team themselves, right? We're talking about the teachers' workload, but I'm also thinking about the money, the cost involved in developing and using those agent systems. I think that's the future direction as well. I hope that answered your questions.
Yeah, it is. Like since AI is working around data and the technology, the high-tech technology, I think there are a lot of issues to address related to data and the
Yep.
technical part.
Yep.
So are there any specific technologies you would suggest, or like what resources or tools can you provide
Sure.
for those who'd like to learn more about your work?
Okay, I think now I'm biased, right? So I think if you're asking like any specific technology, I would recommend, yeah, the multi-agent system that we are developing. I can share, I will share the link, but we are still wrapping up the manuscript reporting on this system. So since we haven't sent it out, but we have I don't remember the name of the website, but I can share a link to the open source something so people can have can look at the like the conceptual our preliminary evaluation outcome and how we developed the multi-agent system in that paper. But I will be very happy to share I don't know. I have the account number and a password because currently I use my own OpenAI API. So if anybody wants to use that, test it out, I think people can contact me or contact Citos, so we can have a conversation because it does involve like some my privacy issue, right? Because that's my API. So I think I can share, but we can have a conversations first.
Yeah, we'll appreciate that.
Mm.
So thank you, Dr. Zhang, for sharing your research and practice on the multi-agent systems for AI development. We really appreciate your time and work and hope we have more opportunities to continue our conversation about your work. For
Sure.
more information about CITO research and practice briefs and other resources for higher education and related services personnel preparation, please go to cito.org. Don't forget to follow us on social media, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a message. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.